Lift off, taking my coat off.
We're live. Here we are. Hey, just a couple things. Got a great show today. One of the things I always want to highlight when we come on is do things the way that you like. I mean, if you're a business owner and you have control in what you do, or even if you're a leader, just make sure you're doing things that you want and have fun with it. I mean, if you have fun with it, it changes everything. You will show up in your best self. It's just an exciting thing. So thanks for tuning in. Just a reminder, every Wednesday at 3, I do a segment here around business and momentum. Hopefully it's stuff that you can use in your organization or give you ideas. Today, we're going to be talking about having a killer quarter 4. When we think about quarter 4, I mean, if you think about retail, I mean, and you think about Black Friday and some of the things, you work all year. You work really hard. You work all year and you get to a point where, like at Black Friday, organizations finally have a chance to be able to make profit. So you work all this time to make profit maybe in the last thing. So it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. If you're not making profit, that fourth quarter can be make or break if you're going to win the next year. So it's very important to understand it's a big deal in all businesses. And a lot of times it's not talked about. When you get to the end of quarter 3, what happens? So I would ask you to reflect and think about where are you? Think about when you started the year out. And every year this happens. If you're a business owner, again, these are tailored to business owners and leaders. But think about in your organization, what were the goals that were set out? What did you think when you started the year? And where are you now? Are you on track? Are you behind? Or are you blowing past your goals? It's important to do that. But that excitement around planning is really energizing. But this time of year, if you're not on goal, you say it can kind of deflate you. So what do you do? A couple of things. You know, we're going to talk about a couple different things today about that. But I want you to be where you want to be. I want you to be able to attack this and know that you can do it, because it is make or break. What did you learn from this year? We had COVID. So when you talk about strategy, I know that COVID was not in your strategy starting the year. How did you handle that? What did you learn? What are you going to do different in the future? Is your strategy going to take an account for another COVID or something similar? Obviously, we don't want that. That's not anything that we want to even entertain. But is that something, are you planning that way? Make sure that you don't go back to the old way. It drives me crazy when you go back to the old way and it's just over and over and over again, the same old, and you're never growing. Right at around this time, you look at your numbers and you look at whether it's sales or whatever it may be, whatever you are in charge of, and you say, we're a little bit behind. The number one mistake organizations make that I see, or business owners, is scrambling. Don't scramble. Consistent scrambling will lead you to consistent losing. It's something that you have to understand. I got a comment here. But yeah, consistent scrambling will lead to consistent losing. And what do I mean by that? Do you feel unprepared? Are you 100% confident in your plan, or are you just adjusting on the fly? You know, in the new norm, as people like to say, you have, I was getting ready to go to an event, and when I left the event, when I left my house to go to the event, I was like scrambling around. I was running a little bit behind, and I got to the venue. I got out. Fortunately, I wasn't speaking or involved in any of it, and I forgot my mask. So I couldn't go. I had to go back and get a mask or find a mask to be able to go. And it made me think about how many times when it gets to the end of the third quarter, how many of us scramble for, and it just, we forget things. What happens when you scramble? You make bad decisions. You make mistakes. You make long-term implications of your decisions. And I can think about times in our organizations where we sat down. I can think of specific example. We had one in 2016 where, we sat down and we talked about our strategy, and we were a little bit behind on sales, and we push. We had this plan. We made it happen. We scrambled and we hit our sales goal. We hit everything. But in the process, we sacrificed some other things that came back to cost us a lot of money later. So one of the areas that people make mistakes in when it comes to the fourth quarter and setting up for the next year is scrambling to win the year. You want to hit the year's goals. You want to do that, but you have to do it making wise decisions and not ones that are going to make impact negatively in the future. You want to make sure that you're taking the right customers. You want to make sure that you're doing the right things, charging the right prices. That year, I know we sacrificed some pricing to be able to get work to close it. And it had, like I said, implications on and on. Poor decision-making, mistakes, like I said, long-term things. Rushing is not sustainable and it's not healthy. And I know there's always one person in the crowd that says, that's how I do it. I'm the best when I rush. I get things done that way. For you, I would say you can have success that way. I call that the crazy cycle. You're going to be up and down, and we're looking for sustainable growth. So when we're talking about momentum, we look to do sustainable growth. If you're listening, I'd love if you put in the comment, where are you at in your strategy? Are you ahead, behind, where you want to be? And if you are interested, if you're listening to this, you're tuning in, whether it's live or a replay, put strategy in the comment. I would love to talk to you and hear your strategy and give you some insights. Sometimes we can't always see what's good or bad in our own strategy. So I would love to hear what you have, maybe help you see that or talk through it a little bit. But rushing is not sustainable. It's not healthy. It doesn't create the best for our organization and our people and everything else. So the number one thing is when you get to a spot, if you're behind or ahead, make sure that you don't scramble to adjust and lose track of your goals and what's really important. The second thing that I want to talk about is the strategy part. Everybody has a strategy. And strategy is something that you've probably had great strategies before, but I want to examine maybe why they haven't worked in the past. So if you think about strategy, you have this strategy right here, and it's just so good. It sounds good on paper. You go to an event, you go to a chamber event, you go to a networking event, whatever it is, you tell somebody like, oh, that's a great strategy. That'll be good, whatever. I was talking to a prospect that they had 5 clients, and by next year they wanted to have 50 clients. And this conversation was actually just today. This is just live. And I said to the individual, like, how are you going to get there? And the strategy at a surface level to a person at a family get together, it passes the test. As a business coach, I saw a lot of holes in it where it was going to probably let them stranded most when they needed to be probably right around this time, right around the end of the third quarter. So I asked, we dove into that and we really unpacked like what's going on. For me, I can think about, I had a perfect plan when we put together sales plans and revenue plans. And part of my problem with it was I was over optimistic. So when you're over optimistic, it creates negative energy in a sense that people might not hit their plans, or maybe it's not that they don't hit their plans, but maybe your company doesn't hit the plans and then your organization feels like they're not winning. So sometimes it's comparing it against the previous year, but there's areas that we do that can hold our strategy back. The perfect plan and strategy you might have had before, but it's understanding what has worked and what hasn't worked. Again, these are elementary concepts. I believe in mastery, not reinventing the wheel. And in Momentum U, one of the things that we do is we combine mindset work with strategy. You're going to hear me talk about this a lot because it's the foundation of success. We have mindset work and strategy, and the strategy is what you always have known. It's what you learn. It's the webinar that you watch. It's the book that you read. It's the MBA or continuing education that you got. That's the strategy part. But where the gap falls is the mindset, and you have to be able to combine the two in order to have explosive momentum. That's the foundation that we teach, and we build on that, and it unlocks like a key. It unlocks the success to what you already know. So that plan that you had that didn't work, it's diving deep to understand what is not working. Maybe for you, it wasn't getting the sales. Maybe it's around the people. A lot of the topics that we talk about are the symptoms of mindset or awareness. The strategy might have been pretty good. So again, we're talking today about how to win the fourth quarter, the importance of the fourth quarter. At the end of the third quarter, you got to be able to recognize where you're at and kill it in the fourth quarter. The plan's most likely not the problem. The plan probably works. And the same thing when you look at a lot of things that you follow or watch, you're going to find that a lot of the stuff works if you follow through. Weight loss is a great example. If somebody eats the right thing, is on a diet or a certain lifestyle change, and they do it consistently, you will get results. The same thing with strategy is if you have a good strategy, which there's a lot of good strategies out there, if you have it and you execute it properly, you probably will get results. If you're not, there might be a mindset or limiting belief that is popping up. Many times you have a good plan. So again, we're talking about killing it in the fourth quarter and the importance. We gave the example of a retail. When you think about Black Friday, you work that whole year, again, to get profit. And you deserve profit. You put so many hours in to have it, it's silly not to think that you would not get it. 9 out of 10 companies lack clarity in their plan. So like I said previously, at a high level, they're really good at explaining what their strategy is, but when you put it into action, it's not actually working. It always passes the listen test. So when you say, hey, this is what I plan to do, people say, yep, that sounds good, but then it doesn't work. So before you create your next plan or strategy, I really want you to do a deep dive into mindset. So we said, one, if you're not where you want to be at the end of quarter three, don't scramble. Scrambling is not going to help out anything. It's going to lead you to make poor decisions. It's going to lead you to make decisions that are only focused on the next 3 months. And if you think about it, in the month between November and December, most people have holiday and are limited anyway. So you really might only have 2 months of like active, good, prospecting, sales, recruiting, like whatever you need to help land your fourth quarter successfully. So, as you think about that, it's so important to understand what has worked up until this point, what hasn't worked, to not panic and not scramble. Make sure you have a good, solid plan. But for the things that haven't worked, being able to go and do a deep dive into mindset, to understand why they're not working. And I want to give an example. So my wife and I have a 4-month-old daughter, and we're new parents. So if you're a new parent or when you were a new parent, you can relate to a lot of the different things that you learn. You're constantly learning new things in the way to do it. You don't have experience, and you learn through the hard knock life. But as the one evening, it was pretty early, maybe only 5 o'clock, and our daughter was consistently just upset. We thought might be sick. She was cranky. She was crying. It just wasn't, she wasn't herself. And my wife, and as any mother can relate, tries to fix the problem. And she kept trying things. It just wasn't working. You start to get a little bit, frustrated because you just want to help your daughter feel better. So finally, we put her in her crib and she went to sleep. Just like that. She literally just went to sleep. All she wanted was to go to sleep. So I share that because when you think about business and you think about strategy, when you think about how things work, and are you doing this in your strategy? Just like the example I just provided with our daughter not being upset and cranky, all we had to do was put her down. But our instinct was to try to fix the problem. So in your strategy, I ask, if you examine this, are you really working too hard to create a perfect problem or a perfect solution when really the solution is much easier? It's very easy to just lay the baby down in the example that I gave. So as you do that, that's where the mindset piece comes in, because as new parents, we just had a block. We had limiting, experience to this. And then we realized that this is all that it took. So moving forward now, around that time when she gets a little cranky, we lay her down, she goes to sleep. It's amazing because you get to sleep at night and she rests well. I've heard countless stories of other parents now that you're, being a new parent, of not being able to do that. Now I know that we're fortunate, but it just made me think of the business thing of how that happens, how that works. So the same thing when it comes to your strategy in the fourth quarter. Are you doing the same thing? When you reflect back to January and you sat down and you had energy and you felt good, where are you at now? At the end of the third quarter, and we're into the fourth quarter, where are you at? And if you find yourself year after year in the same spot after the third quarter, maybe it's time to just have somebody look at what you have going on. If you post strategy in the comments or reach out to me, we can talk just about your strategy. Just see if there's any blind spots or holes that I can poke in your strategy and see if there's something glaring. It may save you a lot of money, time, and effort, stress, everything. It's a big deal. Just put in the word strategy in the comment. Maybe we can connect and talk about it. So I think it's so important that you are able to understand and identify what's working and what isn't working in your organization for your strategy, and build off of it. To understand, because if it isn't working, what we're doing with Momentum U is we combine mindset with strategy. And when we do, it leads to explosive growth and momentum. So if your strategy is not working, chances are it's probably because it's a blind spot or a limiting belief. It's a way you think about something. It's a way that you handle something. You can fix it because you have the tools. It's really, really, powerful. Again, scrambling, reviewing just a couple things. One, scrambling at the end of the third quarter doesn't lead to success. You got to make sure that you identify what's going on, dive into the limiting beliefs. Don't rush your decisions. You need to be able to make good decisions for the long term. If you sacrifice a little bit of sales or something in the fourth quarter, but you're setting yourself up for a great first quarter of the next year, that's awesome. So as you think about these are things that are important. On the inverse, and I want to highlight, if you're at the end of the third quarter and you're on plan or you're ahead of plan, first, great job. As owners, you don't get to celebrate as much sometimes with your team. So if you're on track, congratulations. That's a big deal, especially in this time during a global pandemic when you're winning. It's a big, big deal. So first, celebrate that. Second, I still want you to dive deep and see what has been working and what hasn't been working, because you can still get better. And I still would say and guarantee that there's still blind spots and some limiting beliefs that will accelerate your strategy even more. If you dive into that mindset with your strategy that's already working, it's really going to be explosive. So when you think about this, again, if you want to know more, you can follow us or find out some more information at explosivemomentum.com. You can set up a call with me. We can talk about your strategy. I would love to do that, hear what you have going on. You can also follow some of our content. You may be listening to this live. You may be hearing it on a social media platform. You may be hearing it on a podcast. Wherever you're listening to it, thanks for listening. Look for some of our other content. Share and comment. If you write the word strategy in the comment or shoot it to me, we can talk about your strategy. I will talk about it with you. Think about when you plan the year. You're going to finish this year. I want you to finish strong and win and have profit and make money. And then when you think about next year, I want next year to be a year that your dreams come true, that you're able to win the way that you've always wanted to win, not getting to the third quarter and being 50-50. It could go this way, it could go that way, or we're not where we really want to be. The energy that you have when you set out a new year and you plan it and you believe you can do it, you can. I would encourage you to have a conversation with me. Reach out. If you're a business owner, let's talk about it. Let's talk about your business unit. Let's talk about it and see how we can help you have explosive momentum. It will always be a decision that you will never regret. If you want to know more, reach out. I'll put a couple links, the Explosive Momentum link here. Thanks for watching. If there's any topics that you want to hear about, please reach out to me and I'll be happy to cover topics that you want to hear. When you have questions, and pop them into the chat. I'm always love to have dialogue, live dialogue. Every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I go live on a variety of platforms. So tune in, ask questions. I'll be happy to help your momentum. It's Seth, the founder of Momentum U, signing off. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.